and we are recording once again. So again, welcome to night number 3 of the District 11 2021 Spring Conference. Before we get started tonight, it is my honor to introduce our District Director with some opening remarks tonight. Please help me welcome DTM and District Director, our friend, Jean Wolfe.
Hi, everyone. You know, Scott and I do not touch base before these meetings to say, hey, what are you going to say? Hey, what are you going to say? And today, as I was thinking, okay, what's something that I haven't touched on yet? One of the things that came to mind was to share with you that several months ago, seems like a lifetime ago, as the trio got together and thought about, okay, what's something we can gather people around? We're not really going to do a theme this year, but what words, what tone do we want to set? We had some really great conversations, and we came up with the idea of there's some important questions we want to ask as we make decisions. And those questions were, is it transformational? Is it fun? Is it meaningful to members? That's been the tone, that's been the bar, that's been the measurement as we make decisions moving forward. Fun, transformational, and meaningful to you. You contribute to that by your participation, by your attendance at great events like this, by sharing your ideas, by sharing innovative, let's give it a try. And even if you're hesitant, saying, okay, what harm is in giving it a try? I'm delighted that we are continuing tonight with great sessions to give you some fun, to provide you an opportunity to transform, and information that is meaningful to you. Yes, exactly. Excited. Thank you to each and every participant tonight for being here. And thank you to Deepti for sharing the wealth of wisdom that she has to share. Back to you, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jean. That has absolutely been the bar that we have used to measure every single thing this year. Who's ready for a couple of fun educational segments tonight? Who's ready to learn some stuff and laugh at some stuff and have some fun? Who's ready for that? I know I am. Everybody else? Fantastic. Well, Deepti Vijaykumar is a high-performance business coach who unlocks leadership skills and mindset shifts that directly impact profitability. She's a mechanical engineer with an MBA in marketing and a Master of Science in Business Analytics. She worked as a management consultant with a multinational corporation before becoming a full-time entrepreneur in the field of high-performance coaching. She has been with Toastmasters since 2018 and has served as club president and is now an area director. Tonight, Deepti is going to take us on a journey to explore the health of our clubs. While each club is a cell in the large body of Toastmasters International, the health of this body depends upon the health of each cell. Who has the most power to affect the health of each cell? The club president. The individual can take the club to new heights or to nowhere, depending upon their leadership style, interpersonal skills, and intentions. Tonight, help me welcome Deepti Vijaykumar as we learn how to exercise this power effectively and efficiently. Give it up for your friend and mine, Deepti Vijaykumar.
Thank you, Scott, for that wonderful introduction. And thank you, everyone, for your encouragement. I will now start sharing my screen and then we will take it from there. Can everyone see my slides? Awesome. I have my slides here and I have you all on this screen. So that's what I'm trying today so that I get to see your reactions and my slides. Let's see how this works. Namaskaram, buenos noches, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am so happy to be here to talk about my favorite topic of all time, leadership. Today, in the context of Toastmasters and specifically in the role of the club president. Before I go ahead, can I have a show of hands by those who are active Toastmasters members right now? Oh, awesome, good. And now can I have a show of hands by those who are not members, our guests in the audience? Do we have anyone? Okay, no problem then. Because I was bothered that, I will get carried away with Toastmasters lingo and I'd have to stop and explain, pathways and things like that. But I think we're good here. Everyone will understand what I say. My topic is effectively exercising the power of the club president. In this educational session, I want you to know that you can replace club president with, say, team leader, group leader, president, dean, whatever leadership role it is that you essay in your professional lives. Of course, the presentation will be in the context of Toastmasters, but I encourage you to expand your mind and sort of read between the lines. I also want to let you know that this will be a session to help you internalize leadership the way you think is effective for you. It's about getting internal clarity. It's about knowing what it is that works for you as a leader and what doesn't. It's not about motivating others or helping others do things that you want them to do. It's not outwardly. It's going to be an inward journey of figuring out who you are as a leader. And finally, before I go ahead, I want to encourage you to view this session as a shared learning experience. Of course, I'm talking about this topic because I know something about it, but nobody knows everything. You may have an idea or a concept that's not being discussed here, but will add to the educational experience of members in the audience. So feel free to raise your hands if you want to add something, and I will do my best to spot you and give you the chance to share your words. Let's begin. Let's dive right in. I want to establish the significance of the club president. On your screen, you see the medical image of human cells. Don't worry, I'm not going to go into biology lessons. I'm just trying to establish the significance of the club president using an image and a biological concept. You see, the pink cells are healthy cells, and the cells with the neon dots are unhealthy cells. And each of those cells has a blue sphere in between, which is the nucleus of the cell. The nucleus determines the growth, the metabolic rate, the everything for the cell. And if the nucleus doesn't do its job right, the cell dies. And within our Toastmasters setup, I want you to view each Toastmasters club as a cell. And who is the nucleus? The club president. Undoubtedly, categorically decides the fate of the cell and its health. And all these cells come together to form the large body of Toastmasters International. The health of this body is dependent on the health of each of those cells. And the health of each cell is dependent on what the president does with the job at hand. Now that we have established the fact about the significance of the president, let's move on to the frameworks that we can use to exercise this significance and this power effectively. We will be using two frameworks to help us understand how to use this power effectively. The first one is the classic approach of self-inquiry. Many of you may know this person, Simon Sinek. He introduced the idea of the why. The why for what you're doing with your lives in organizations, in your leadership pursuits, and even in life. The what, the how, and most importantly, the why. This is the first framework that we will be using to discuss how to be a good president, a good leader. The second framework that we use is the 3 pillars of effective leadership, which I developed. The first pillar is intention, your real emotional objective behind holding the leadership position that you hold. What is it in your emotional being that draws you towards being this leader, being the club president? What about your emotional quotient is appealing for this leadership position to be held by? That's what I mean by intention. Value addition. You're a leader, you bring something to the table, and you need to know how you can use that to add value to your team, to add value to your club. And finally, my favorite pillar, efficiency. There's no effective leader who's not efficient. Time and energy are not unlimited. And an effective leader knows how to operate the system productively, not just for himself or herself, but for everyone in the system. This is the second framework that we will use to see how we can impact club growth and personal growth. We will superimpose both of these models and see how we can impact club growth positively and how we can simultaneously grow personally. Does anyone have any questions at this point? Any clarifications needed? Let me look at my screen here. Wow, I see all of you big and bright.
Deepti, I'm monitoring chat for you, and there's nothing in chat yet.
Sorry, what was that?
It's Scott. I am monitoring chat for you, and there is nothing in there yet.
Okay, awesome. So I guess I've been quite clear so far. Let's get into this. The why. Why do we have to exercise our power as the club president? Why bother about being efficient, of having the right intentions? Why? Of course, we want to impact club growth and impact personal growth, but let's look at the specifics. For me and for many others that I know in my club and my area, it's about reciprocity, giving back to the club what you received. Many of us operate with that intention, but there are a few who have a different kind of intention, and we have to talk about it. Some want to be leaders because it makes them feel good. It's an ego boost. And some like to boss over people a bit. Sometimes these are active intentions, and those are not the kind of people who should be leaders. But sometimes we have negative intentions by default, subconsciously. So I encourage you to ask yourself what your intentions are. And if they're not very good, be active about changing those and having better intentions. Maybe something like reciprocity, maybe something like adherence to a higher purpose. Whatever it is, that emotional, pure intention that you bring to your leadership position. How does this impact personal growth? Over time, you develop a service mindset. Whether you're in Toastmasters, whether you're at your workplace, whether you're in your family, imagine what developing a service mindset will do to you as a leader. Toastmasters gives you the space to develop that mindset. The second pillar is value addition. Why? Why add value? Because you will leave the club better than when you join. Even if your club is amazing, there will be something that you can work on as its club president. Find that and work on it. What does doing this do for you personally? You will acquire the high performance skill of exponential team growth. It's very easy to keep the ship sailing when it's sailing well, but it takes effort to make it sail even better, to not get complacent, to not get comfortable, and keep progressing. That is a high performance skill that will trickle into all aspects of your life. And the final pillar is that of efficiency. Nobody wants a leader who has long meetings where just two things were discussed. People have limited time and energy, and optimizing the use of people's time and energy is what will get you to good club growth. What happens to you personally when you exercise this skill? You will learn to reduce collective fatigue. Believe me, that's a real thing. If you don't draw limits and boundaries when it comes to meetings, when it comes to the way things are dealt, how members behave, how they respect time, punctuality, and things like that, if you don't get on top of it, it's going to cause extreme fatigue, and that will lead to lack of enthusiasm. So why be efficient? You want everyone to be on their toes and be happy while being on their toes. Does anyone have any comments about efficiency? How have your experiences been with leaders who are not so efficient? Does anyone have any examples to share? I'm sure everyone has many. And maybe you don't have to take names, but we can discuss efficiency if anyone wants to give an example.
Can we back up to value addition?
Sure. Go ahead.
Because there is an issue here that when a leader comes in, he or she must understand what made the club as good as it is, or what's keeping it from being better, before trying to add value. You have limited resources, and when something comes up like we had in 2020, if the rest of your club is not strong, then you can be overwhelmed by something like having to suddenly switch to all online meetings. So I just caution that the value addition is important, but at the same time, you have to understand what's making the club strong right now.
Yes, I agree. I agree that the existing strengths are, of course, something that cannot be ignored. And knowing what keeps the club strong. For example, my club, I believe its strength was its diversity. And knowing that the diversity is what makes it interesting was paramount to ensuring that the club continues to run well. But what happens is, I see diversity, I see that things are going well, I get comfortable, and I just ensure diversity exists. But diversity has to come with inclusion. That is what I identified when I was a president. And I believe that inclusion was something that I had to work on, and I noticed. For example, there were people from India, there were people from China, there were people from South America, and everyone was so uncomfortable with their accents. And they felt that was something lacking in them, the fact that their accent was not American enough. And I identified that, and I encouraged them to embrace their accents the way it is. So you have diversity, and that's the strength, but you build on it with inclusion and allowing everyone to feel like they belong. Thank you for that comment, Douglas. I hope I pronounced your name correct. And let's move ahead. The next question we address is how. How do I use my intention to impact club growth? Of course, give the same warmth and the encouragement that you receive. And at this point, I'd like to open the floor for inputs on what is it that you receive from your club that you feel like you need to give back. There is warmth, there's encouragement. I'm sure there are 10 more things. Please let me know what your clubs give you. But you all are Toastmaster members for a reason.
So Deepti, I'll chime in here. I think one of the greatest things that all of my clubs give to me is the diversity of experiences between clubs, because I'm a member of multiple clubs. So what I get from my club in Florida is very different from what I get from Summit City Toastmasters, which is very different from what I get from Smoky Montgomery Toastmasters, which is very different from what I get from everybody. All of those experiences are tied to the relationships with the members, with the shared journey and the shared experiences I have with the folks that are in the club. And with the fact that we are all open to learning something new, knowing that none of us have all the questions, let alone all the answers, and that we're all there to help us be able to take whatever that next step might be. I think the greatest thing that I have found to be able to make Toastmasters relevant on a regular basis is the ability to walk beside somebody else as they figure out who they're supposed to be. That maybe they've gotten stuck in a rut somewhere, and that opportunity to help them uncover who they are is incredibly valuable.
Wonderful. So what Scott is saying, I think if I were to summarize, was a feeling of belonging and shared growth and being able to find your highest self. That's what your club is giving you. And when your intention is reciprocity, that's what you give others. When you gain a sense of belonging and you gain a sense of becoming better as a person, how do you use intention to impact club growth? You give that back. That is the intention of reciprocity. And thank you, Scott, for sharing that. Do we have any other concepts or ideas of what the club gives you?
So Aunt Blair said a sense of community, and Mark Walton says community and continuity. I'd love to hear one or both of you expound upon that.
Hey, Scott, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Hey, Deepti.
That's my
Hey,
mentor.
I will tell you from a community perspective, I look at my club as extended family. They are the people that are in my club. I'm interested in their success. And I think, to speak a little bit to what Deepti was saying, the reciprocity of that is I get that same thing back. And because there's a level of trust within the members of our club, it has a very strong community feel to it. And it just has a very good community feel to it, because I believe that our club members actually care for each other, want to see each other succeed, and feel comfortable enough being vulnerable in delivering speeches and accepting feedback, and even sharing some aspects of their lives, like, hey, I'm looking for a job, or things like that. And then our club rallies around our members who need help at certain times with leadership or communication, doing a resume, getting contacts, gaining an extended network, things like that. There's so many things in our club that contributes to community. And that's why I say that I feel within our club anyway, that community aspect is very strong, and I like that, and it feels good to me. And that's one of the things that keeps me active in the club and participatory in the club.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you for your inputs. And that's the thing that I was trying to, bring across, which is, for me, I wanted to deal with things like being vulnerable on stage and constantly feeling like I'm being judged. And Toastmasters made me feel not judged. So what I do as president was, when there are new members coming up, I don't judge them. So what I got, I give back. I think Mark had a point to make. Mark, please go ahead.
I was going to make simply the point, fellow Toastmasters, of continuity is one of the things we get from our clubs. No matter how many times I have visited clubs, and I have visited a lot of clubs this year, there's no place like home. And when I'm a club officer, as I have been several times in the past, I remember being determined that we will not fall apart this year, not on my watch, because I'm going to hand this off just the way I got it, and it'll be as good or better because this is home. That's what I'm trying to say. Hi, Aunt. by the way.
Deepti, there's another comment that came across chat that I think is a really good comment by Matthew. One of the benefits of a corporate club is cross-team relationships and relationships with people in the company you wouldn't normally interact with. I think it's a great point that we sometimes forget that we don't know who we don't know. And this is a great opportunity to come together as groups.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's probably another intention, you know, the networking part of it, and especially probably in a corporate club. Yes, I agree. You meet people that you would never meet, and you meet in a sort of semi-professional way because you're not really talking about work, but it's still a corporate club. Definitely. So that's what I spoke about, shared learning. There are things that you know that I may not know, and keep them coming. It's encouraging and enriching the entire group. Wonderful. Thank you. And how does setting an intention to impact club growth help you personally? When you have your intentions right, when it's pure and it's in a place that you know where it's coming from, you learn to healthily go beyond yourself and meter that ego. Every time you check what your intentions are, and if it's stemming from ego, no, I want to look awesome, I want this crown on my head. When you know those thoughts coming up, and all of us have it, actively stopping that and going back to what you originally intended to do, which is reciprocity, adhering to a higher purpose, networking, helping others grow, sense of community, whatever that is. Keep going back to that. And when you keep doing that, this is an important leadership skill you develop, going beyond yourself and metering that ego. The second pillar, value addition. Like I said, like the example I gave about diversity, and then I identified that inclusion could be better. That was based on my own unique perception and experiences in America. And that's why I found that that was lacking a bit. So find that based on your unique experiences, define it and address it regularly. As a person, what that helps you is you will be in a constant incremental growth state. Like I said, it's very easy to get complacent when the ship is sailing well. But in order to make it sail better, you need to practice making it sail better and not be complacent. Finally, I cannot emphasize more on efficiency because I've experienced that at work. Sometimes I've experienced that at Toastmasters. As a president, there was a time when meetings would go longer than I intended. And I had to develop the muscle of saying, let's stop here. I'm not trying to be rude. Please don't go beyond the time allotted. So you have to cross your comfort zone a bit. You may appear a little rude to someone, but over time you learn how to say it the best way. But how you efficiently be a leader is by setting the right goals, learning how to delegate appropriately based on people's availability, time, energy, and knowing what your leadership style mix is. I don't say leadership style, I say leadership style mix, because one style does not work. You have a variety of people that you are leading, and you will have to customize your leadership style based on what you want as response and for collective growth. Of course, that helps you bring flexibility in your leadership, which is paramount in these times. Finally, the what. What does it mean to use your intentions to impact club growth? What does that look like? You have the power, you have that significance. And that is why it's your immense responsibility to use it well, to influence lives. Yes, lives are influenced. I know when I was a member, the president at that time, my mentor, Ant Blair, influenced me in a way that I am grateful forever. Some people have your Toastmasters meeting as the best thing that happened to them some weeks. You never know what lives you're influencing and making them better. So that is a responsibility. What does this do for you personally? You develop compassionate leadership and visionary thinking. You cannot get up one day and decide, I want to be a visionary leader. No, you need to practice that day in and day out. And then it comes to you. Toastmasters gives you the platform to develop visionary thinking. What happens when you add value? If you have happy members, they become happier. If they're enthusiastic, you make them more enthusiastic. And that builds the momentum for the club to keep growing and never fall flat. This gives you the skills of talent retention. If you're leading a group at work and people don't seem like they don't feel like they belong, you will lose your talent. This is a chance to develop that skill. And of course, efficiency, people will start getting into the pathways program. There's a momentum, everyone's enthusiastic. One person gives a speech, the other one is encouraged. There is some healthy competition. So all of this basically builds that momentum and keeps that culture alive and encourages everyone to be a part of that energy. Of course, that will give you the very basic skill that an effective leader needs, which is the art of achieving maximum results with minimum efforts. We do not want to put too much effort and leak everything and bore everybody and not have results. The most important skill for an effective leader is efficiency. That ends my presentation. There's my email and phone number. Feel free to reach out to me. If you like this presentation that I made today, feel free to go onto my LinkedIn page and write some nice things about me. I'd be so happy if you do that. I think at this point of time, I'd like to open the floor for question and answers. Questions, comments, ideas, and I will try to give some answers.
First, give it up for Deepti. What a fantastic job. I love the way your mind works, Deepti. That is absolutely wonderful. Congratulations. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you want to stop sharing your slides, it might be a little bit easier from a gallery standpoint for us to be able to see if you have questions. So every night we've had long discussions about the presentations, and I would love for this to be the same way tonight. Who wants to start with conversation or question or comment about Deepti's presentation tonight? Mark Walton.
Deepti, you did a terrific job as an area director, but I didn't see much of your club because it's a little distant from me. Tell me, what was your best experience as a club president this year?
I think my best experience was when there was a member who constantly had a stutter issue and a confidence problem. And I had this one conversation with her one evening where I told her to assume that everyone is your friend and that everyone here is helping you grow. No one is here to judge you. Just assume that until proven otherwise. And the next meeting, she gave a phenomenal speech and she continued. And I realized the power of words, the power of positive words that come from a leader. And I knew she looked up to me. And that made a world of difference to her. And that, I think, was my highest point. Thank you, Mark, for that question.
Very nice. I would love to hear kind of the flip side of that also. What was the biggest challenge, the thing that the obstacle you had to overcome the most, besides the fact that, well, quarantine and Zoom and social distancing, hand sanitizer, toilet paper, all of that. So what was the biggest opportunity you had to overcome something this year?
I think what happened was, obviously, the changing from in-person to Zoom happened. And that, because I acted on it immediately, everyone just caught on. But then after that, when I discussed or put out the idea of having an open house, everyone looked at me like I was this crazy lady who doesn't understand that, virtually things like this don't happen. There were a few people who encouraged me, but everyone thought, oh, so cute, you want to do an open house? That doesn't happen. I said, no, we're going to do it. And if we fail, we fail. I think that was the biggest obstacle. And especially me, now I've gotten used to virtual, but back then, this is not my favorite thing. And I had to do it because I was the president. I'm so glad I was the president because it taught me virtual skills, virtual communication skills, and the open house, I think, was the biggest challenge.
Fantastic. I think Jean just said it very well. Last night we talked about ripples and how all of us have a ripple effect upon those around us, the clubs around us, the leaders around us, the people around us. And Deepti, you are absolutely making ripples throughout the district and helping us make ripples throughout our circles as well. So thank you so very much.
Thank you, sir.
I have a comment here.
Go
I
for it.
just founded a club back in November, and I've learned very quickly right from the get-go, you have to set a tone of enthusiasm, a tone of you can do it, you can achieve it, and so on. And when you have somebody up there that from the top, essentially, set the tone, have enthusiasm and everything, you attract those people like magnets. They want to be everybody, they want to participate. And for that reason alone, just to everybody to be aware, we're only a 6 months, 7 months old club right now. We met 4 of our 5 DCP goals already. So we only have 2 more months left to go. But the important is you have to set the tone. And here's something very challenging this year because everybody's doing virtually. Not everybody has the skill set to present themselves, to carry them virtually. And so that's a whole different element in there instead of just meeting in person. So I'm fortunate that I have been working from home for over 6-7 years prior to the club founding. So I was able to express by example with the tone, enthusiasm, and so on. And you're right, words have a lot of weight into it. Because if you don't use the right context of your words, people are not going to grab it. It's like a cat-catching thing. So, but I'm certainly pleased with this presentation because it's sometimes not always thought through. There's more like the ripples, as you say, there's more to it than meets the eye. And it's very important to start from the get-go with that kind of enthusiasm.
Thank you, Jade. Thank you for that wonderful perspective and for enriching the idea that I was trying to perpetuate. Thank you.
So Deepti, I have a question for you.
Mhm.
Certainly is still in difficult times when it comes to the district as a whole in terms of club growth and member retention, all of those sorts of things. If you were to give, say, 2 or 3 just bullet points of what should we do first to help us be able to instill your teachings in clubs so that we can help build engagement, build retention, build growth, what would you say the first couple of things that club leaders should do?
I think what club leaders can do in order for retention is constant engagement through the mentor-mentee program. I think that is vital because that's one way that you get personalized attention without fatiguing the officers team, because then it gets delegated across mentors. I think encouraging mentors to have extremely positive relationships with their mentees and to have scheduled meetings, once a quarter or twice a quarter, whatever works, that keeps the engagement and the accountability. And I think in my experience, that works best.
That's interesting you talk about mentors. Last night's first presentation was all about mentor circles. That there's a lot of clubs out there that realize that we have more folks that need mentors right now than we have established members that can be mentors. And I think Chris did a good job last night of being able to give us a secondary perspective on how to manage through that when we have more folks in need than we have folks that are able to help. It's a very nice answer. Very good. What other questions y'all have? Come on, we certainly have to have some more questions. We are all certainly trying to become better leaders and grow our competence here. This was a great presentation. No? Okay. Deepti, thank you so very, very much. Everybody, please give it up again for Deepti. What a wonderful presentation tonight. Thank you so very much for kicking us off on night number 3 of the 2021 conference. That was a wonderful presentation, so very necessary. Again, this will be downloaded and will be available to you through the District 11 website, through our private or for unlisted YouTube page, and they'll be up tomorrow. You get to them through the educational section tab on the main page of the District 11 website. So I'm going to stop recording now. Deepti, thank you, thank you, thank you. Absolutely. Deb Cedar says, I want to follow you on LinkedIn. Absolutely do that, Deb. Very good follow.